start reading this book again. Chapter 3. It's my floating landscape. Chapter 3. Manifesting non-physical into physical reality. The strength of your mind pattern determines what you can bring together for manifestation into physical reality. A recipe is a recipe. Once you have the recipe, you can create. The result is not a matter of how good or bad. The result occurs when the strength of your mind patterns pull your goal to you. Here is your recipe. Frequency streams create sounds, tone. Tone gives frequency streams shape. Shapes become portals from non-physical into physical through the frequency streams can now flow. All physical reality is created via frequency streams emanating from God mind, including humans. Humans exist at the intersection of energy streams, where the physical and non-physical meet. The thoughts emanating from the soul personality attract specific frequency streams that create and form archetypes. These archetypes from the God mind and the archetypes from the mind patterns meet, thus creating an experience in reality. As a microcosm of a macrocosm, each soul personality has frequency streams thrown through it, creating tone, shapes. Tone shapes the frequency stream, which turn attracts the archetypes that flow out of God mind. When they match, the experience happens. Usually the process appears haphazard, meaning that you are not conscious of the color tones and archetypes emanating from your mind pattern. This is why chaotic thoughts create chaotic life experiences. In addition, without the appropriate boundaries of colors, tones, archetypes of others get mixed up with your own. This results in more confusion and more chaotic life experiences that you most likely would not have consciously chose. Chapter 4. Consciously changing, directing, and recreating archetypes changes your life experience. When you want to experience happiness, for example, you can draw the new frequency streams within you by the words that you use. Words are spoken tones comprised of archetype. The sound is shared depending upon the archetype used. For example, the archetype A creates a different tone than the archetype of B. Each archetype allows specific frequencies to pass through it. By shaping the archetypes and sending them out, you can attract the same archetype that is already floating around out of the God mind. Like attracts like. Now, add the strength of God mind pattern to what you're already doing. This strength allows what you want to manifest. You must also utilize the wisdom of your oversoul to determine the correctness of your desired manifestation. By doing this, you can literally reshape mind patterns, which then changes the archetypes that emit from you. Now, new and different archetypes from God mind are attracted to the emanation, resulting in new experiences due to these new archetypes. All thought is continued and reformulated and a reshaping of all that is. There is never more or less to work with. All that is remains the same. You simply rearrange all that is by bringing non-physical into physical reality, or pass physical reality back into the non-physical. The non-physical must be anchored into the physical reality. This is why you must sign a contract such as in a marriage, you have no physical idea of joining two lives together. The contract provides the physical anchoring. This is also why the indigenous people always make physical offering when they take something from the physical world. They release something from the physical to the non-physical to maintain balance. The offering signifies their honor and acknowledgement of the process. If you take something from the physical, you must give something back. The mind of God is always in balance. With knowledge, you control the balance in life. Without knowledge, life controls the balance in the you. Chapter 5. Everyone already sees archetypes, but some people have been defocused away from the realization via selective sight. You know what selective hearing is. When you are in a crowded room, selective hearing allows you to tune out background to focus on one conversation. Selective sight works the same way. For example, a baby's eyes look all around a person's head. Parents teach the child to focus on the nose, mouth, eyes. The child's selective sight takes over, pushing aside the archetypes to say the words that please the parents. So from one generation to the next, selective sight is instilled as a norm. No one does this to you. You and generations before do it to yourself and to your children. Eventually your child's eyes are trained to look right through the archetype into much more dense areas of physical manifestation, such as the body. Some maintain archetype knowledge and sight, but few survive this selective sight process. If they do see things that our parents cannot see, the child is off to get testing medication. Archetypes in ancient times, when life form was less physical, were not only more understood, but they were integrated and respected as living, breathing part of life. If you were frightened of height, an energetic archetype of courage was placed on a corresponding body part. The archetype redirected the energy flow to negate the fear archetype, directing energy to mind pattern of fearlessness or courage. The archetype stayed until its energy was used up. Then it disappeared. Indigenous people still to this day decorate their bodies and surround according to what they need to do. These rituals are carried forward from generation to generation. In a way, when you celebrate your own holiday and traditions, you are recreating remnants of ancient rituals that actually meant something via color, tone, and archetype. These types of dynamic archetypes were the forerunners of today's tattoos and other body piercings and markings. The difference is that the body marking and piercing were dynamic. Today they are static, meaning that once they're there, they're permanent. And the ink carriers are full of a lot of chemicals and metals that are toxic to the human body. Even if a piercing is allowed to close, the energy stream is permanently disrupted unless the mind pattern directs healing of the scarring. Sometimes you can enhance energy flow, like an earring on an earlobe, for the eye meridian to help you see better. But again, you must know what you're doing. This rarely happens haphazardly. This is the same with surgeries and other more life-saving procedures. Tattoos and piercings do not allow the original mind pattern to function unless they represent a mind pattern already within your psyche. Archetypes have always been important. That is why business have a logo. It is an archetype statement of the business and imprints your subconscious mind. For example, Target stores are the golden chain of small department stores with the logo with the bright red circle with a bright red dot in the middle. The archetype of royal blue circle with the royal blue dot in the middle of the pineal gland, which represents your center of consciousness. So why does Target use the archetype for the pineal gland, center of consciousness, for their logo, except in bright red? Because bright red is the sexual color found at the root chakra. Every time you look at the Target logo, you are imprinting your subconscious mind that shopping with Target will bring you sexual gratification. Target has nothing to do with sexual gratification. It is not a house of prostitution, but by choosing this logo, your subconscious reacts and responds. This is one example of many, but you must understand how your own archetypes so you can understand the world around you. Chapter 6. Archetypes are multidimensional. When you see an archetype on paper or a sign, you see a two-dimensional representation of something that is truly reality, multidimensional. You can mentally envision the two-dimensional representation of any archetype at your pineal gland to activate it within your mind pattern. With eyes closed, observe the archetype. It may change color, position, and even shape. It may rotate and move around. Observe how you feel. Ask your oversoul to direct this archetype to change. Ask your oversoul, is this positive or negative action? What does this mean about my current mind pattern? Does this enhance or negate my goal? How does this make me feel? If you are not sure, use the affirmation. My oversoul now directs my understanding of this archetype, or it is removed. Everything in existence is multidimensional. Your body is multidimensional. Each cell sends messages to your brain about what is going on every nanosecond. Nothing works in a straight line. Everything comes from a variety of directions. You are taught linear logic during the education process. Therefore, you expect a multidimensional life to have linear consequences. This simply does not happen. This explains why some circumstances suddenly appear out of nowhere and you don't know how it happened. Again, this is because you're trying to explain multidimensional world with linear logic. God mind is not linear. God mind is extremely multidimensional and beyond. This is the time to remember where you came from, to acknowledge your multidimensional existence, and to learn multidimensional logic. You are a microcosm of a macrocosm. You are the wave upon the ocean. It is time to erase the illusion that you can never be disconnected from your source. As a microcosm of a macrocosm, it's time to emulate the thinking process of your source, to understand your source rather than fall into the trap of human-designed linear logic. As you move into multidimensional thinking, you move back into the original language that emanates from the mind of God, color, tone, archetype, and symbol. More importantly, you understand the language of origin. How empowering is this? You already work with color, tone, archetypes, but you do it on the subconscious level. You create them every day. Now with your conscious awareness, you're going to create your own personal recipe in a way that enhances and uplifts you into the next level of being. Be prepared, because the old must break up and fall away to clear the ground for the new foundation. This part of the process keeps self in alignment with oversoul and God mind, and you will be well in the world. You may not always get what you want, but you will always have what you need. The next step is to align needs and wants of the wishes with your oversoul and God mind. This trinity of self, oversoul, and God mind is the triangle of perfect manifestation in the physical reality. There is no time to lose. Now is the time to tell who you are and what you came here and where you are going. Appreciate the process, for you will never pass this way again in the same way, with the same people, the same inner and outer circumstances. Working with archetypes allows you to be a powerful co-creator of destiny that you came here to be. Prepare for change as you move your conscious mind into the wonderful world of archetypes. How to use archetypes. Chapter 7. I don't want to read anymore. I'll show you what they are though. Well, not there, I'm stuck.
pick it back up on it tomorrow.